In the Sainsbury archive, not quite everything we have in the collection is about the famous chain of supermarkets. We've also got many items relating to various past subsidiaries of the company. These included 2 US supermarket chains, farms in Scotland, a food manufacturing company which was Haverhill Meat Products, and 2 DIY and garden retailers. These companies have since been sold off to become part of other businesses, but we hold the archive for the time when they were part of the Sainsbury's Group. Today we're going to delve into the story of one of these former subsidiaries, and that of Homebase. The company first started to float the idea of a new venture as part of a strategy of diversification in the Sainsbury's business. The company considered various options. One suggestion was even to start a fast food chain. However, they later came to the decision to acquire an overseas food retail chain and to set up a DIY chain, and so the wheels were set in motion to open Homebase. In order to do this, Sainsbury's went into partnership with the Belgian retail group GB Inno BM to establish this chain in October 1979, with Sainsbury's taking a 75% shareholding and GB Inno BM taking 25%. GB Inno BM owned the Brico chain of DIY stores in Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, and the USA, so they had a successful history of running DIY stores. Sainsbury's chairman, Sir John, now later Lord Sainsbury, was impressed on a visit to Belgium with the presentation and quality of the Brico stores, and it was decided to model this new chain on this company. It was announced in the company in-house magazine in 1981 that the Homebase centres were modelled closely on the highly successful Belgian formula. The largest possible range of DIY products, as well as a complete range of builders' materials and garden items, will be sold. In fact, the stores will sell nearly everything needed to build and fit out a modern house, maintain, and then improve it. Sainsbury's was very clear of the new company's aims and aspirations, stating that we have researched the UK home improvement market most carefully and are confident that there will be nothing to touch Homebase in terms of product range, quality of goods and services, coupled with the traditional Sainsbury's formula of unbeatable value for money. Homebase will set new standards in retailing in the DIY market. Over the coming 5 years, no less than 20 Homebase centres will be opened in the UK. The Homebase brand was developed, and in April 1981, the first store in Purley Way in Croydon opened. On opening, it had a total sales area, both indoors and out, of 47,000 square foot. That's about 4,400 square metres, which is about the same size as Trafalgar Square. The main sales hall was 25,000 square foot, including 3,500 square foot of greenhouse. It had a 10,000 square foot garden centre at the front and a further 6,000 square foot of heavy building materials sales area. It also had a car park for 250 cars. Although the store was relatively quiet at 9 a.m. on opening day, by 10:30 the car park was packed to capacity and the queue of cars stretched right out into Purley Way. In the first 2 weeks of trading, over 60,000 people visited the store, and a 6-man night filling team had to be employed to keep the displays well stocked. On the first Sunday of trading, the police in fact were forced to temporarily close the store as the crowds visiting had caused such a large traffic jam. The store included a small demonstration house showing some of the materials and techniques used in house constructions and decoration. There was also a Laura Ashley fabrics and wallpaper shop within the store. As part of a deal with Laura Ashley's, these were included in all Homebase stores. The new store also became the head office of the company until 1984, when it moved to new offices in Wallington, just outside Croydon. The second store was opened in Leeds in October 1981 in an opening event that was intended to become a future trading pattern for the company. There were 2 company stores sharing the same site and separated by a large car park. The Moore Allerton Centre in Moortown in northeast Leeds contained a supermarket, the third JS store in Yorkshire, and a Homebase house and garden centre. Nearly 1,000 people queued to get into the new supermarket. Such was the enormous interest. Staff joked that at one stage it looked as if the whole of Leeds had come to shop at Sainsbury's as business was so hectic. The More Allerton Centre comprised more than a Sainsbury's supermarket and a Homebase. It had an independent JS off licence, a surface level free car park for more than 600 cars, a new community library, public conveniences, 6 sublet shop units, and a recycling centre. The interest in the opening was so great that even the BBC spent 2 hours filming in and around the centre and interviewed Tom Haynes, the area general manager. This was transmitted during the same evening on Look North as part of the local news bulletin. The third Homebase House and Garden Centre opened at Castle Marina Park, Castle Boulevard in Nottingham in June 1982. It boasted the biggest car centre department in Nottingham, with a gondola display alone being over 200 foot long. And the fourth store opened adjacent to the Sainsbury's branch in the Lords Hill area of Southampton in December 1982, followed by a fifth store at Basingstoke, which opened in December 1982. 1983 saw a host of openings. Cardiff, where a brook and series of bridges separated the Homebase to the main supermarket, leading to the staff to nickname it our own little Venice. There was Gloucester, which was built on a traffic island. On opening day, the 200 space car park was filled in only 36 minutes. It was Kingston, where the first customer, Robert Standing, said, "I was first in the queue at the Surbiton opening where Sir John Sainsbury signed my receipt, and today I intend to get the Homebase chairman to sign this receipt for putty. I don't really know if I need this putty, but I suppose it will come in handy." It was Northampton, which opened on a damp bank holiday Monday, when people started to queue at 7 a.m. There was Albury, which was built opposite the Albury Saver Centre, and it was the first Homebase to be built with a computerised stock control system. There was Seven Kings, the first Homebase which regularly opened on Monday, and there was also the branch at Watford. However, I couldn't possibly give this talk without giving special mention to the branch that opened on Harrogate Road in Bradford in 1983. Living up the road at the time, I felt like I spent so much of my childhood here, especially, for some reason, in the Laura Ashley section. I'm really surprised I don't appear in the archives images of the branch. 5 years after the first Homebase had opened, there were 27 different branches, far exceeding their initial aim to open 20 stores. There was a close relationship between the Sainsbury's and Homebase businesses, with staff often transferring between the two companies and shared advertising promotions, including the promotions of Homebase in their Sainsbury's branches. Most of the senior executives were from Sainsbury's, including the first chairman, Girth Hoyer Miller. However, for much of the time under Sainsbury's ownership, the company was managed by Dino Adriano. He joined Sainsbury's back in 1964 and became Homebase General Manager in 1981. After going back to Sainsbury's for a while as an area director from 1986 to 1989, he returned to Homebase as Managing Director in 1989, becoming Chairman in 1991. He went on to lead Sainsbury's as Group Chief Executive from 1997 till his retirement in 2000. He was also the Archives Chairman until his death in 2018, and he was a very lovely man. As Adriano explained, there was no point in reinventing the wheel. We were able to supply Sainsbury's standards to Homebase, translating appropriate procedures. The most significant input was the people who came over. They brought experience, expertise, and method. Sainsbury's methods, ideas, and practices were indeed adapted to the new business. They were keen, for example, to develop a high-quality own-brand range of products, and followed Sainsbury's lead by introducing a series of own-label items from paints to plants and everything in between. The company was intended to be different from the established DIY chains. A brochure for the first store called it a completely new concept in house and garden improvement centres. They were intended to be complete home and garden centre stores, which were more customer-friendly, provided high-quality information and advice, and would appeal more to women than competitor stores. Staff were trained to provide expert advice, and a series of free project planner leaflets providing advice on DIY and gardening products were among the ways the company tried to help shoppers, regardless of whether they were an experienced DIYer or a beginner. The stores were well laid out and signposted, with signs featuring a pictogram man who also appeared on the company's advertising. I could think of no better way to describe this than letting Sainsbury's PR team do it for me. So here's a video from 1987 which outlines the company's new approach to DIY stores.
Garden, even if only a window box or some pot plants, are perhaps the most important elements in our surroundings. Improving them fulfills a basic human need, allowing us to extend our living space, even change our lifestyle. It's often the best way of maintaining and protecting our major investment. That's where Homebase comes in. Right from the start, Homebase was conceived as a new generation of home centre, providing the best for both home and garden. Homebase is a partnership between Sainsbury's, the UK's leading retailer, and GB Brico, Europe's most experienced DIY specialist. Together, they have hit the nail on the head, combining high quality with low prices, a vast range of goods with a wide choice of brands, colours and designs, helpful and knowledgeable staff with lots of easy-to-digest product information. Homebase is more than just a very convenient house and garden centre. It's a complete home experience. Homebase is like a giant workbox with all you're ever likely to need waiting there for you. The first thing you'll probably notice is the space. It's clean and well laid out, with the high standards and low prices you'd expect from a company that's part of Sainsbury's. That quality also applies to our staff and management, and it's reflected too in the quality of products we stock. Our eye for detail means you'll find just what you're looking for. Homebase was always conceived as a house and garden centre, so outside, as well as the bricks, you'll find all sorts of plants, pots, sheds, and paving, all worth beating a path to. Homebase is full of surprises. For example, every Homebase has a Laura Ashley shop in the store, with its distinctive range of wall coverings and paint, fabrics and furnishings. And amongst a whole variety of extra services, you'll also find Hirebase, our tool hire shop for those one-off jobs. Anything from carpet shears to scaffolding, for half a day to 3 months. Our skilled and helpful staff will work for you at Homebase, cutting a wide range of glass to your precise measurements. You can get keys cut too. And they'll even saw timber into just the pieces you need. There's a colour queue paint mixing service with almost 1,000 shades to choose from. Homebase is designed for the beginner as well as the expert, the professional as well as the amateur. You'll find helpful information boards all around the store with good advice on how to tackle every kind of job. Each Homebase has an information desk with trained staff to advise you. They'll help you choose the tools and materials you need to handle all sorts of jobs. And there's a useful book section which includes our own Homebase guides from as little as 35p each. Low prices aren't just confined to our books. All our prices are low, while base price highlights selected lines from the wide range of Homebase products with their consistently outstanding prices. You'll also find regular special offers and special purchases to give you extra savings for every season. You can pay by Access and Visa. We also have our own trade card, which builders and local traders will find particularly useful. And if what you've brought is tricky to get home, there's free roof rack hire for awkward loads, and free delivery within 20 miles for certain bulky items like a bath or shed. Even if you live in a flat, you can still be a gardener, for there's an exciting range of colourful houseplants to choose from. And for the more ambitious, there are all the garden tools and accessories you'll ever need. Step outside and there's a garden centre with hundreds of beautiful shrubs, plants and trees. And there are staff trained in horticulture to guide you through the Latin.
All year round. It's Chamois was gold.
There's paving for patios, sheds for shovels, and there's a builder's yard too with bricks, timber, cement. All you need to improve or even build your own home. It's the same story in every department. Over 30 different hammers to hit that nail on the head. More than 300 different adhesives to get stuck in with. Around 600 different wallpapers to give your rooms a facelift. Altogether, more than 15,000 items to choose from. We really do have everything you're ever likely to need. The range and choice, the flair and style, combining high standards of quality and service with some of the lowest prices you'll find anywhere. But then, Homebase is part of Sainsbury's, so perhaps it's only what you've come to expect. We think you'll like what we've got in store for you, for there's no place like Homebase.
Homebase also developed a number of innovations, including the introduction of centralised distributions where goods would be sent out from Homebase's depot to individual stores rather than being delivered directly from the supplier to the store. It's had a number of benefits, including that store staff didn't need to spend lots of time dealing with the checking and unloading of stock from hundreds of suppliers. They also didn't need to keep excessive stock of products at the store, allowing more space in the branch to be given over to shop floor items. While centralised distribution was already well established in Sainsbury supermarkets, none of the major DIY retailers in the UK had introduced such a system, and so Homebase was the first when it opened its depot in Northampton in 1988. Today, all the main DIY retailers use centralised distribution. They were also one of the first retailers in the UK of any kind to introduce a loyalty card, with their Spend and Save card introduced in 1991. This enabled Homebase customers to gain vouchers which they could spend at Sainsbury's, Saver Centre and Homebase itself. While the launch of Homebase had been viewed with some scepticism by city analysts who believed that the market for DIY was already saturated, in the event, the DIY market proved to be one of the major growth sectors of the 1980s, as it benefited from the government's policy of encouraging home ownership, and the company steadily grew. In 1989, it opened its 50th store in Norwich. It was now the fourth largest DIY retailer by sales, although it was some way behind the top three, that of B&Q, Texas Home Care, and Do It All. By 1995, Homebase had 82 stores based mainly in the south of England. However, that year, Sainsbury's acquired Texas Home Care from the Ladbrokes Group, whose profits had been stalling by the mid-1990s. David Sainsbury, group chairman at the time of the merger, said, "Texas Home Care is a fundamentally sound business which has lost its way over the last 2 years, partly because retailing was not the core business for Ladbrokes, whereas retailing is our business." The deal was worth £290 million. It was a good fit for Sainsbury's and Homebase, as the geographical locations of the two companies were split so well that out of Texas's 241 stores, only 15 had to be closed due to duplication of branches. The merger meant that Homebase tripled in size and expanded its trading area across the whole of the country. It took the company from a 3.1% market share to a 10%, and it made it the second largest DIY firm in the country. Initially, both companies traded as two different brands. However, from 1996 to 1999, Texas stores were converted to the Homebase format. The first branch to undergo conversion in February 1996 was in Longwell Green in Bristol. It took 8 weeks of tradesmen working 24 hours a day to convert the store to new Homebase branding and to give it a refit at the same time. The conversion of the stores to Homebase was highly successful and resulted in large sales figure increases in the ex-Texas stores. In 1996, Sainsbury's acquired GB InnoBM's minority stake in Homebase, and this made Sainsbury's the sole owner of the business. Sales and profits for the Sainsbury's company fell in the late 1990s, and in August 2000, Sainsbury's decided to put Homebase up for sale as part of a 3-year recovery plan to stop a decline in the food market share to Tesco, thus enabling them to focus on their main supermarket business. It was announced on the 22nd of December that Sainsbury's had agreed to sell Homebase to Schroeder Ventures for $750 million. 28 non-trading development sites for large DIY stores were also sold to Kingfisher, owners of B&Q, for $219 million, bringing the total value of the sale to £969 million. However, a 17.3% minority stake was retained in the business until 2002, when Homebase was sold to Great Universal Stores, who eventually rebranded itself as Home Retail Group. While Home Retail Group sold Homebase again in 2014 to Australian retailer Wesfarmers. Home Retail Group were themselves bought by J. Sainsbury's plc in 2016, proving that everything in retail is cyclical. The chain still continues today under the new ownership of Hilco Capital. I thought I would end with a little bit of information about the sort of Homebase material we have in the archive collection. The Sainsbury Archive has a variety of documents and images relating to the history of Homebase, during the time it was owned by Sainsbury's from 1979 to 2001. A few items relating to Homebase have been digitised and can be found in our online catalogue, but not very much, I'm afraid. Material in the archive consists mainly of photographs of Homebase store exteriors and interiors, especially if the Homebase was part of a JS store, information and flyers about specific branches, advertising including press, radio, customer leaflets and magazines, videos, as you've seen today, mostly staff training, advertisement and public relations, staff newsletters and information, board minutes, some Homebase own packaging, and publications sold to customers such as books on DIY products.